Yama. My name is Marley Silver. I'm a proud Aboriginal woman from the Gamilaroi and Dunghutti tribes of New South Wales. On behalf of the Imperfects podcast, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the country on which this podcast is created, and in this, honour the ways in which their elders, past and present, have cared for and nurtured their lands and waterways for millennia. I extend this acknowledgement to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people connected to each of the hundreds of countries that make up the continent of so-called Australia, and any of my brothers and sisters listening to this episode. I pay my respects to our leaders and knowledge keepers, past and present. I find strength in our survival for over 60,000 years and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Always was, always will be.
The Imperfects invites you into a very safe place. A place where we share without judgment and drink heaps and heaps of vulnerability. Grab yourself a cup. This is the Vulnerabilitea House. Okay. Not a big deal. Just a normal episode with just a guy. A guest today, which I'm just acting pretty cool about it. It's just happens to be, he plays footy. Great, plays footy, but doesn't bother me what team he plays for. Yeah, captain, sure. Won a premiership. Was it my team? Yeah. Anyway, just another day at the Imperfects office. Hugh?
We are very lucky to be joined by Premiership captain Max Gawn today. Ryan Shelton, gosh, what a day for you.
Oh, what a day for me. What a day for my dad.
Is he here?
He wishes. He wishes.
It wouldn't surprise me if he is loitering around
We
somewhere.
had dinner the other night, Max, you and I, right? And then the next day, my dad, he calls me often, but rarely does he FaceTime me. And the next day I got a FaceTime from Dad and he was like, no need to call back, just wanted to see how last night went. So he's very invested in this episode.
Is Max still there? Is Max still there?
Yeah, exactly. Is he there?
Did he sleep over?
Sleepovers.
Oh, Max, it's a true thrill to have you here. I'm just pumped.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So we had lunch just before you got here, Max,
Yes.
and Ryan said to me over lunch, he said, do you think, and very biased opinion, but he said, Max Gawn, he's the biggest name in the competition right now, but I think that's true. You're the biggest.
It was more, I was actually saying, do you think Max Gawn is currently the face of the AFL? Like if there was to be a
which
player,
is a biased question, but I agree. It is.
I think you are.
So there you go.
I can't think of, other than like Dusty, obviously, but he's been injured a bit. You know, they're not winning as much. I would say, I mean, you don't have to answer this, but I would say...
That's the question.
I'll give you my point of view.
Do you reckon?
Well, I think anyone that's referred to with one name is still on top.
Oh, yeah,
So-
Max.
No, I'm Big Maxi. That's two.
Oh,
So there's
I'd say...
Dusty, Buddy, Bont.
Yeah.
Like they've got one
Oh,
word.
okay. Yeah, but I'd say even if someone said Max, I reckon...
Max King is going well.
I mean, look, good on Max King, but I reckon Max Gawn is a level... That's another level.
A
I shouldn't
strange
have
conversation when you're trying to convince
Yeah,
someone that...
I don't even really care what you think, Max. I think that is the case. I reckon if AFL are doing marketing and they're trying to figure out who do we put on the poster for here's the AFL, currently it's big bloody Max Gawn.
And for the record, I definitely agree with that. But
I agree too. I could not. Really?
I mean, the Bailey Smith Cotton On ones are pretty good though.
Well, okay, that's another look. That's a slightly different.
Hang on, what is
market.
it?
I don't have those abs.
Bailey Smith. You haven't seen Bailey Smith Cotton On ads?
Oh, Cotton On. Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought
They're
you
really
said-
good.
I thought you said condoms.
I think he's gone down that path yet. But
I was thinking, how the hell have I missed that?
Bailey Smith.
Are these a black and white ads? Yeah, okay.
Top off.
Yeah.
I do not know football well enough because I drive past that billboard every day and I'm like, geez, that guy has a good body. And I didn't know who
he's
it
got
was until now.
10 abs,
It's
which is
ridiculous.
rare.
Yeah. It's impressive.
So, Max, I don't know if you remember this. We have met before. Well, in fact, I know you won't remember this. If you
Okay.
do, it's extraordinary. But just a quick one before we kick off. Many, many years ago, the year was 2009.
Okay.
Now, was that your...
That's a bad year to meet me.
Well, was it your first or second year?
Drafted that year.
Oh, okay. So the year was 2010 then.
Or the end of 2009, potentially at the time. You get drafted in October.
Why bad year to meet you?
Oh, just 18-year-old Max. Well, 17-year-old Max maybe at that time.
Oh,
it's
God,
not.
Okay, so I reckon it was 2010 then.
Okay.
You were at Melbourne. It was your first year at the club, and you were doing an education program there. I think it was maybe a Cert 3 and 4 in sport and rec, I think it was potentially.
Yep.
And you had a teacher.
Still up on the wall.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
So you had a teacher, Mark Worthington, lovely guy.
Yep. And
he was sick one day, and so I was your substitute teacher.
Okay.
And so I came in, I was teaching you guys.
What facility were we in? Where were we?
You were at Amy Park.
Oh, so you came in. Okay.
Yeah,
yep.
so I came in, and we were all sitting around, and it was a very strange day as a substitute teacher to walk into the Melbourne Football Club. Lovely group of guys, and I was taking a lesson on. It was more about. It was meant to be on maths, and so the lesson was you guys had to design a gym for yourself, like your own gym, and that was like this is how big the cardio room is, the weights room. You had to measure it all, and all had to make sense.
Yep.
And I said early on, and also think of a name for your gym. I want you to have a really good name for your gym. That honestly, that just took over, and everyone was just it was all about what name your gym was. Your gym was called. So you finished it. And your gym, would you remember by any chance?
No.
It was called Gawn to the Gym.
That is great.
When you have a last name like this, you got to use it at times.
Yeah. On to the gym.
Gone to the gym.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, it would work for. I mean, that's a franchise waiting to happen.
Yeah. I didn't copyright it then. There and then.
I don't remember that. I was trying very hard to steer you guys away from the focus. You were also excited about Austin Wanamiri.
Yep.
His was called. He couldn't think of one during the session, and then he was like really flat, and he was like just. He goes, it's too hard, brother. And I went, it'll come to you. And you had to go to training, so I walked out. And I'm packing up everyone's work, and he popped his head right back around the corner. He goes, hey, brother. I said, what is it? And he goes, want to get fit? He was so pumped.
That's great.
Anyway, that was 2010.
I think that still plays well, I think. Gone to the gym.
Yeah, so does want to get fit.
Yeah, want to get fit's great too. I'm into it. I mean, you could apply Gawn to really anything. I mean, Gawn to the gym is good, but the obvious is like a fishing brand.
Fishing and surfing were
quite
popular when you were young. I think Dad had something on his man shed out the back saying Gawn fishing.
Gawn fishing. Okay. It's a bit obvious maybe, but
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, we could talk Gawn puns all day, and I would like to. But the reason you're here is to pick a card from the Vulnerabilitea House deck, which you see in front of you.
In front of me.
The bluey cards.
Yep.
And the way it works is you just draw the top 3 cards. They've been shuffled and randomized. Pick 3, and then if one of those cards speaks to you, read them out. And if one of them speaks to you in a way and you've got an answer for it and feel comfy sharing, then that would be great. If you don't feel comfy, then
we can go back to the puns.
We can go back to the puns. It'd be a bit of a win-win.
They're shuffled. You haven't set me up and...
No.
Okay.
What was your favourite part of the 2021 Grand Final?
What is your favourite pun?
What parts of aging scare you most?
Okay, yeah.
My gut feels it's not going to be that. I don't think I'm scared of aging.
Okay, great.
At this stage.
Which feels rare as an elite athlete, I would say.
I'm excited for what's to come.
Brilliant.
Nice answer.
Great answer.
What bad character traits do you worry people will see in you?
Yep.
What would you like to do before you die?
Jeez.
Win a premiership. Done it.
Done.
Tick.
Have a baby 3 weeks later.
Done.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think it'll go by default.
It's got to be.
What bad character traits do you worry people will see in you?
Wow.
And, you don't have to, by the way.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to force vulnerability on you.
Yeah.
So
there's some great things I'd do before I die. I'd like to rock climb and
You never rock climbed?
like a genuine rock climb, go out there, not freelance, but
Yeah. Like with ropes.
yeah, but like get out there in like the wild and
Jeez, I'd love to see you out there rock
Not
climbing.
like bouldering in the Collingwood like walls. Isn't there a wall in Collingwood somewhere? Yeah.
Because I reckon you could do that.
And I'm not. And I don't want to get into why I haven't rock climbed yet, but I'm not the body shape, obviously, for bouldering as well.
Oh, I thought it would have been helpful to be tall.
Yeah, but I'm heavy as well.
Okay, right. Gotcha. Okay.
What bad character traits do you worry people will see in you?
I mean, I'd be fascinated to hear this because to me, if you ask me, I'd be like, he's got none. No bad character traits happening here. Absolute legend.
Yep.
As a man, as a player, love you, Max.
Yep. Fast Jess, my wife. I don't think she'd agree with that.
Yeah, okay. Probably got a different perspective than I do. Yep.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is football. The biggest one is because I've had a lot of reflection of how our team went from good to great. We went from went from bad to good to great. We went from a really bad team, but we went from a real mediocre team in 2020. We finished 10th on the ladder. We were seen as this team that had more talent and should have done more. And you have these big meetings, player-only meetings, chuck up all these values on the board, chuck up the best words ever like togetherness and work hard and work ethic and competitiveness. And everyone chucks up a word that means that's important to their values. And I respect that. I like that. But it happens every year. And sometimes they go nowhere. Sometimes you're like, oh, we've just done our cultural session for the year, tick, and we move on. There's a trademark, it's up there. There was something different about the one at the end of 2020.
So 2020, obviously COVID year.
Yeah, we're in a hub.
During the hub, yeah.
We're up there for 90 days in Maroochydore, and that's where you get to learn a lot about the people you're with, and what makes you tick, and what our best performances were like when people were happy in the morning, like all these sorts of stuff were all like bouncing. I'm first year captain as well in 2020.
Oh yeah.
And a big move from the club because we had a captain obviously with Jack there, and
Jack Viney.
there was a decision to make me captain, and there's a lot of expectation on. I'm not taking over Nathan Jones as retiring. I'm taking over a guy who's still currently at the club. So dealing with that pressure and then going into a hub. Fast forward a little bit to the end. We failed in 2020, and a group of us, I'd say about 15.
And what was, just for some context, what were your internal expectations on how you'd go in 2020? Like what did you guys genuinely feel like you should have achieved in 2020?
Without going boring, everyone is not Melbourne, which is not you. 2018, we made a prelim.
Yep.
2019 we failed miserably and come second last. 2020 was seen as like 2019 was we'll forget about that.
Yep.
We'll go back to prelim form.
Yep.
That was almost the expectation, like within and external. So that didn't happen. Club-wide review, lots of things happening. End of 2020, start of 2021 pre-season, we have a players-only meeting. Again, I'm presuming 90% of the group's coming in going, we'll chuck some values up on the board. We'll try and get better. We'll work on 2021. But one stuck out, and it stuck out for multiple reasons because one, I think it was the reason why we got better culturally.
Yep.
And two, it hit me because, like I said, I was this first-year captain, but I thought I got voted in from a relationships point of view, and I was really good with relationships, and I was this nice guy that cared for people. But I went home thinking, I don't do that. And I do that.
You went home thinking that you're not the nice guy. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm one of the people that the comment that I'm about to say, I'm one of the people that does this.
Okay. All right. So a comment was made at the meeting.
Yes, not directed at me. And I don't think anyone necessarily thought that was me, but I knew it was me deep down.
Oh, whoa.
And the comment was a guy named Vanders, Aaron Vandenberg. No longer at the Dees, but he was...
Love Aaron Vandenberg.
Yeah, he can attack a footy, can't he?
Really like that guy.
Come on, you let's keep going.
And he said he didn't think the way we spoke to each other from a professional point of view was right. So, and football clubs are all about banter. And you're always on this massive, pursuit to find, if we win a flag, you got to be best friends first to win a flag. You got to be best friends out on the field, and everyone says you got to be best mates. You got to be best mates.
Is that more of a modern day thing, a more modern day football thing, where it's like trying to that building? Well, this is probably for Hugh as well. But it feels like maybe I'm just more aware of it in the last 5 years. But it feels like a post Richmond thing, like when Richmond had their era. You're smiling here because I feel like you know something here.
No, I just feel like I'm sure it's all sports, but AFL, where I don't want to talk about AFL from an expert when we've got Max here, but like there are definitely trends that happen within the game that clubs will go, they did that. That's why I
yeah.
want less. And connection right now is probably.
Well, and you're also an expert in the exact meeting that I'm talking about. You've probably hosted a few of these meetings with clubs you've done with. So, but never have I had someone talk about the way we spoke to each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vandenberg gets up and says he doesn't like the way that you professionally are speaking to each other.
Yeah, and I'll give examples in a moment, but like we always think, togetherness is one of our, like, we want to be together, we want to be team first, we want to be best mates out in the field. So we always think, let's do a barbecue after the game, invite the girls over, invite the boys over, like everyone come over.
Bonding session.
Let's go to the cinemas on our day off as a group and go watch an educational film.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, Shawshank Redemption, sure.
I feel like Shawshank. That's sort of like, I usually, more often than not, if a footballer is asked, what's your favourite movie? Shawshank Redemption.
Yep.
Step Brothers.
Yep. They're probably the top two.
Top two, yeah.
Not mine, but from a football point of view, mine's New York Minute with the Olsen twins. Beautiful, beautiful movie. Watching Mary Kate and Ashley just get their way around New York. That's phenomenal. So you think you do those sessions, you play golf together, you go, we're building this togetherness, this thing that they want us to build. And then you get hit with this comment and go, oh no, we're bad teammates though. Like, we're really bad teammates. Like, we might think we're best friends, but deep down, and the example that was made,
I'm itching to hear what his comment was.
I might as well say his name. I don't care. I've said it heaps, but Jake Lever, for example, and for those that don't know Jake, he is a great intercept mark defender,
Yep.
All Australian last year,
Big quads.
Yep. He actually, his shorts sit really high on him as well. He's one of those guys with really long legs. Let's say he takes 10 intercept marks and he's had the best game on the MCG that he could possibly do. And we've won, we're all up and about, we're all happy. And we get into the change rooms and he's up here. And for podcasting, that's bad, but I've got my hand towards the roof.
Yeah.
He's up the top. He's at 10.
He's feeling great.
And then in the change rooms, one of us, me included, would say, yeah, but you played on no one, mate.
Yeah, or you bring him down.
But what do you do with the ball? You just turned it over after you kicked it. Or something like that.
Yeah, as a joke, though.
As a joke.
Yeah.
No malice intended.
Yeah.
But we bring him down to 6. Like, we had him here.
Yeah.
And we bring him down to here off our own accord. Before media, family, friends, supporters even get to him, we're still in the change rooms.
But that feels like such a common, like, people, guys particularly do that all the time, where it's like you kind of like peg people down a notch.
It's weird for me to say, like, for me to show that I'm friendly to you is almost be like bringing you down somehow.
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird thing that males, especially males that play football and under the age of 30, we tend to bring each other down for no reason, but also we think it's endearing. We think it's like a show of friendship by bringing someone down. But so then you come to the point where, like, but we can't go to a club where we're walking on eggshells. Like, we got to be able to talk to each other. We can't have someone say something inappropriate. When I say inappropriate, but someone like do a bit of banter and then we all just come down to them. Like, that would be even worse. They'd be going the complete other way. So we sort of said, from a professional point of view. So I put my heart and soul into ruckcraft, into marking, into kicking the footy, into playing football. That's my professional sense.
Yeah.
I don't put my heart and soul into my fashion. So if someone wants to have a go at my grey jumper and they know that I don't put my heart and soul into fashion, bring me down for my grey jumper. Like, that's fine.
It's not going to hurt.
That's not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to bring me down for something that I care about in ruck work and go, geez, you missed that hit, or Paddy Ryder was getting all over you on the weekend. You weren't helping us there. Just
50 hit outs, but who too?
Yeah, just something like sly like that.
For example.
I reckon you might have said that a couple of times. That was the one that felt like we were hurting people for no reason. Before we let anyone else go hurt them, we were hurting them before, and we were this club who thought
is this what Vanders said? Is this what he said?
Vanders set up and got up and said it.
So he told he gave that example, or an example like that?
He gave that example.
Okay, yeah.
So the two part how it affected me mostly. One, it's a great story about how we built our culture, and I love the fact that I'm a part of that now. Part of this great club where 45 guys come in to work. We come in to get the best out of ourselves from a work point of view. We can still be best mates and have the barbecues. The barbecues still go ahead. We still go watch Shawshank Redemption as a group of 45. That still happens. But there's this common trend about how we speak to each other within the four walls, which is really cool. The two bits that
can I, before you go on, I'm fascinated by. I've never been in one of those meetings, so I don't actually know what it's like. But my perception is that being in a group of footy players, it's like there's not necessarily a lot of like vulnerable sharing. Like that's required him going out on a big limb, like Vandenberg, to get up in front of everyone and sort of have a go at the thing, which, like you said, is kind of the hallmark of male bonding.
Yeah.
Like to kind of like point it out and go, I don't like the way that we're talking to each other. I think it's affecting us. Like that. What was the vibe like in the room when he said that?
It's so courageous because it's not like I'm telling you you're an idiot. Like it's not like I'm not being hurtful.
Yeah.
Like what I think is hurtful, I actually am. But I'm actually just every day, like that's what I'm speaking. That's what I've grown up with. That's how my dad speaks to me. That's how his dad spoke to him. Like to come up and courageously speak against that. I think so real, and Aaron Vandenberg did multiple times where he spoke up in different sort of meetings like this, but this one really hit. I'm not sure if you had 44 other Melbourne players here, if they think the same as me, if that was a massive turning point, but I've certainly noticed a change within our football club.
Not a bad idea to get the other 44 Melbourne players to the podcast, though.
We'll do it in one day.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. This is an experiment.
Jeez, your dad will Zoom you the next day.
He would definitely be there. Yeah.
So what really hit me was one, for some reason early on in my captaincy, and this is me being vulnerable now, is I wanted to be Aaron Vandenberg. Like I wanted to come up with that thing, which was weird. Like I've never had that before. But at that time I'm like, oh, that's such a good point about a thing that I care about. I care about relationships, emotions. I care about young people getting the best out of themselves. That's like a passion of mine.
Yeah.
But I missed it. Like how did I miss that? Like I've got my eyes on all these guys and I've missed it. And then the second part was I do that.
Whoa.
Yeah. I do that. Like I'm like, Vander's great point. I think I even might have said, like, I love what Aaron just said. And then deep down I'm like, oh no, like he might even be talking about me.
And so did you then, you were then thinking about times that you might have, I imagine you're then thinking about, hang on, and is that me or do I say that stuff?
Yeah. And now for every day since, it's almost 12 months to the day, maybe a little bit, what are we, 16 months, 18 months to the day. I think about every relationship chat that I've had, and it's a good thing because and like I said, I'm passionate about it. So I have a diary at home, and I recap a lot of the times from a professional point of view when I talk to my teammates and coaches and staff, and I recap how I did it. I'm like, because I like to add humour. That's the way I do it. There's always this way to lead. You got to lead like this guy or lead like this guy. I like to lead the way I like to lead, and
I always notice, well, more often than not, like in the team huddle before the bounce on the ground, more often than not, I feel like you guys laugh. There's like a laugh just before the bounce. And I imagine that comes from you, I imagine.
Oh, well, there's a few guys. Richmond were also big with that. Richmond chucked in Jack Higgins, which was a laugh for all those guys. Like every now and then, Harmsy sang Shallow by...
That's James Harms, yeah.
Shallow, the Lady Gaga.
He sings that in the middle of the ground.
Harmsy sang it before West Coast in 2019. He sung the whole first verse. If anyone was walking past, you just would have heard Harmsy. And then we joined in. So there was like 22 playing. There's 22 of us in a huddle going, tell me something, girl. Yeah. That was our song that year. For some reason, that was our song.
Yeah.
And Harmsy sung that before. So that's
awesome.
It's just a great time to be us and be yourself. Using humour is a big way of me to start off hard conversations and hard conversations, or if I feel like I'm losing them, and people expect me to be funny as well. Not expect me to be funny, but they know my personality. They know that I'm a bit of a larrikin. And if I come in 5 minutes of genuine, serious chat, they're like, wow, I'm really in the shit here. Like,
yeah, right, yeah.
So that's my way. But then I recap every time I speak to someone and make sure, like I have stuffed this up since. Might have stuffed it up grand final week. Like I might have brought someone down accidentally from a professional point of view. But as long as we're learning from it, I think it's the most important part.
Unreal. It's amazing.
Oh, God. It's hard to get a word in with Ryan.
What you have said is amazing, but you could have said anything in Ryan again. It's just amazing.
This is the best app we've ever had, guys.
It's funny you say professionally from a professional point of view, but I do feel like it is to a big extent the life, your life for 20 years. So it is kind of from a personal point of view as well when you're like the way you speak to each other every single day. Yes, it is in between like at the four walls of the club, but it is also, you spend so many hours there. Like and they are personal relationships.
Yep.
So I feel like that adds extra weight to this, because I feel like I've been to a lot of clubs, and there's one particular club I can think of, and I definitely won't say here, but I was asked to go in there purely 100% to deal with that issue of like shit talking, like as in you just give someone shit the whole time, and it's almost, it can be a little bit of a defense thing as well, just to make sure. It's a bit like schoolyard stuff, to make sure, young kids will pick on someone to make sure they're not the one who sort of stands out. And it's a bit more than just that, it's like it can be your currency as well. Like it's like who's better at giving someone else shit, and it's but I think the reason it's a problem, one of the reasons I think clubs play so much better when that is gone, is that to go into the club you have to kind of armour up, because you don't know what's coming your way. And there'll be certain players who have certain issues and they're armoured up and they're so sensitive to that issue, whether it's, maybe a player isn't as tall or maybe whatever it is. And when you have your armour up, it is actually genuinely hard to connect with someone at a deeper level because your armour's up. But the second you feel like you're not going to be attacked, you can kind of put your armour down, the connections that you get are really rich. I don't know if you've experienced if that's kind of what it felt like, or...
Oh, well, 100%. I can remember when I first walked in. And it's trial and error what is professional and what does affect people, because different things affect different people. And what I'm going to talk about when I first walked in, this isn't from a professional point of view, but I got like laughed at for some of the clothes I wore. And that hurt me because I was trying to fit in at 18.
Yeah.
So I was all about trying to fit in. And then when I was told I wasn't fitting in simply by something I wore, like I thought about that for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing what words can do in that sense.
So then, because everyone knows that feeling. It's a horrible feeling. And because for you hold on to it for 4 weeks, but everyone else who said it forgets about it 10 seconds later.
Yep.
Like it's not actually a personal thing, but you can't help but take it personally. But like, so when you're a 17, 18-year-old player and you walk in and that happens, so then how does that affect the way that you play, or as a player, how does that, because as a person, it clearly affects you in a bad way where you carry it and you feel shit about yourself. But as a player, how did it affect you?
I look back on so much early on, and I wish I was stronger as a person before I went in, but I wasn't. I was 17. I hadn't gone through much professional stuff in my life. I'd really floated through school. I was one of those kids, and I walked in and I was told basically not to be Max Gawn, which I believed at the time. I'm like, yeah, this kid that's walked in, this kid can't play AFL. Like I'm a larrikin. I obviously that's a famous story, but I had a dart on the way to training one day. Not sure if you've heard the story, but I just felt like there was no one else on the Monash Freeway one day and decided to light up a dart.
Yeah, and who saw you?
Kyle Cheney. Yeah. I'll name you, Kyle.
And he dobbed on you.
Kyle Cheney, to be fair, I would have done the same thing. He didn't dob on me. He told one other person and then
it spread.
It spreads.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of person I was. So when I got told I had to be this person, I'm like, well, that's correct, because I couldn't be that person.
Mm-hmm.
That person was getting nowhere near football. But then I was getting further away trying to chase this person that I thought was AFL Max. I'm lucky that I played some good football, winning the round early on, because my pursuit to get to the person I wanted to be might have ended a lot earlier than what it could have been. But yeah, that's my early memories of that. And then it takes me back to what I just said about myself, is I can still feel myself accidentally saying this stuff to an 18-year-old.
Like even today?
Yeah, like I don't think today, maybe yesterday, let's say yesterday. I think today I've been okay. But then you sort of catch your words. Sometimes it doesn't get out. Sometimes you think it and don't say it. Mm-hmm. And I preached this story about how I was able to be myself and I found myself and how hard it was to try and be someone else. But then every now and then I fall myself in the same laps that I was preaching against. And it's so because I have a position of power. I have a title.
Captain.
I'm captain. Everyone, believe it or not, everyone believes the captain of the football club is faultless.
Yep.
It's the way you're preached. It's the way you're built up. You're voted by people power to be this guy that lives the values day in, day out, which I like to think I do. But there is times where you slip up, and
you're still a person.
Yeah, the person I was against when I was in my first year sometimes still is me.
That must have been really devastating to be sort of smacked between the ears with that realization. If you were able to come to, as you said so well then, that you were able to become yourself and you were able to do it, but then realised that you weren't necessarily allowing others to. That must have been a bloody hard thing to confront.
Yeah, it was. I was really lucky. I had some good mentors around 18, 19. One being the incredible Jim Steins. I'm not sure if anyone in the room worked with him or...
I knew Jim a little bit, yeah.
But he obviously his strength was in this area, adolescent teens.
Oh, yeah.
And he saw me from a mile away, Jim. He saw me coming and he goes, this kid needs me. So we partnered up pretty quickly, and he was always in my ear about, it's okay, this is a speed hump, still do it your own way. It was hard to listen because there was other people. When I say other people, they may not have been directly, but it was just that general environment. I felt like, no, but this is the way I got to go. And Jim would bring me back, no, this is the way you got to go. And then to that realization that you said, that I mean, I don't want to be Jim. I'd love to be Jim. He's an incredible man.
You wear his number.
Yeah, I do wear his number. I've literally copied everything he's done. I've started speaking with an Irish tongue around home. And I want to, I do want to be that guy that's able to allow people to be themselves. And to be fair, I'm probably being harsh on myself, and I reckon I am doing an okay job. But the one thing I have learnt since realising is I can't beat myself up for it.
Yeah. When
you like slip up in that way, yeah, that's good.
You can't beat yourself up for it. And I do it at home. Like, I mean, I do it with my wife sometimes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Learning about stuff that she's passionate about, and if I bring her down with something she's passionate about, that can do the same effect. You can do it literally. You can do it with anyone. Let's say this is your profession, podcast, and if I had to go at the way you are holding that mic right now, you would think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go, geez, you talk too much on that podcast.
Oh, I mean, exactly. It's so true, because if I knew you were joking, and it would still be like floating in the back of my mind. It's like maybe there was truth to that. Maybe I was talking a bit too much, and it would play in my mind. But for you, it was just like a throwaway comment, no doubt. And I could probably convince myself that it's fine.
Yep.
But I mean, Hugh, you can probably talk about the negativity bias, but isn't that, would that play into it in that way, where you remember, like, everyone can say great game, one guy says,
gives you some crap out,
give you a bit of shit, then you're going to remember that.
We're so easily seduced by the negative. It's just, we'll go home and lie in bed. We could have 20 good comments about our game, and I mean, gosh, you know this better than me, but the one negative, or you maybe hear something in the media or a commentator says something, that's what you kind of think about. Absolutely.
Yeah.
From a professional point of view, I'm so fascinated by what you did, or what the club did, to then go, oh, okay, we've identified this problem. We're giving each other shit a bit too much. Was it simply just acknowledging it and saying, guys, we've got to stop this? Or is there stuff that you did that changed people's behaviour to be more positive and more loving and not giving each other shit all the time?
It was all player driven. The meeting was players only as well. I don't think we ever. I think we filled in Goody at some point, obviously, because it's a pretty important part for coaches as well.
Yeah, huge.
So it was definitely player driven. We were on eggshells early, and it's hard not to be.
Do you mean early, like after the comment?
Straight after the meeting.
Yeah.
I reckon the first 2 or 3 weeks.
And do you mean people were nervous about what they said?
Yeah.
Like they were checking themselves and a bit like...
Yeah. And then once you start getting further and further away from when the point was made, then the relapsing comes, and then the eggshells are gone, and then you just sort of correct. You correct in the conversation. We've got so many guys that are ballsy enough to correct someone in the middle of the conversation, to a point where now they're few and far between. They really are.
So people were sort of calling it out when it happened.
Yeah.
You don't have to give me a specific example, but I'm fascinated because that's a really big thing to do. And for lots of men in friendships and clubs and stuff would be in having conversations where things are said, but you've heard them and they've got no idea how to tackle it. I'm just fascinated to know how a conversation like that would go. Would someone who was said, I didn't like what you just said then, or just give me a break, let me mellow in this?
Well, there's a perfect example of me this year.
Yeah.
So we come back from a beautiful premiership celebration of 9 weeks,
Let's
10
talk
weeks.
about that for yeah, right. So you win, quarter one.
But day one, I've got a fear of failure for one. Wasn't on the question, so we didn't have to talk about it, which is good. And I also have mad anxiety around running. Like, I love running, but I also have this anxiety built up around running.
About running during a game, or just
training, or
all sorts of running.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've never leisurely jogged. That's not a thing that footballers do. Like we're trained to literally go for every calorie we can in the 20-minute period you're allowed to run. So you go for an off-season run, you literally balls out the whole time.
Yeah.
Sorry for that expression if anyone's worried about that.
It isn't literal. Just not a comment I've worked with. I've never seen that before. Righto, guys, balls out. And
that's one of the other things we did 2020 to 2021 is we did nude running.
Oh my God, that's nice footballer.
And I love it. I love training my ass off in the off season. And I came back and I missed my time trial. And you're thinking there straight away.
So you missed your time trial. What does that mean?
I missed my time that I was supposed to get my time trial.
Gotcha.
And at our club, you do it again.
2K
4 ones. 4 1Ks. And we do it again if you don't get it. So it's a fair punishment if you don't get it.
Do you add up? Is it the combined total?
Yeah,
or is it,
combined total / average, which is the same, really.
Yeah.
So I built it up massively to get this 4 1s. I wanted to be, once again, the captain who said, like, we're back for a second premiership. We want to go back to back. I'm going to come back and hit this amazing time trial. And I missed it. And fear of failure, anxiety around running. I'm no good after that. Brave face, but no good. And I got a comment from a player who said about 3 days later, he goes, imagine having to run that again, knowing that I'm the guy that has to run that again and knowing that he was talking to me.
Yeah.
And like you laugh it off, few people laughed around. And I thought about that comment for the next week. I'm like, fuck, he's brought me back down to 0.
Really, yeah.
But then I got it the second week. So then I went and did it. I did it again. And I said the exact same comment to a guy who had to do it for a third time.
Wow.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Which is, and I almost caught it. I almost caught myself doing it. And I just thought, and I don't know if this guy that I did it to has a fear of failure or an anxiety around running like I did. Maybe he is someone that can just laugh it off. But I'm like, oh no, that's happened again. Wow. And I'm a year on from when I thought I was getting better at this.
Yeah.
This is leadership to me though. Like we've never done a discussion on leadership on this podcast, and I get asked to speak about leadership a lot, and I always say no because it's not my area of expertise. Or what I feel is leadership is the courage to be yourself, and like you saying that's an incredible. I'm just picturing like an 18-year-old kid. Like imagine an 18-year-old Max Gawn being at the club, and then the captain at the time says, "Do you know what? I've just completely fucked up. Last week, someone said this to me. It made me feel like shit. I've just done the same thing. I'm really sorry." Like that's leadership to me.
And to be fair, the kid who said it to me actually said sorry to me 2 days later.
Yeah,
so it was playing on his mind that he accidentally said it as well, which makes me realise that we've gotten somewhere.
That's what you want. Yeah.
That's awesome.
As you said, I think so accurately. It's such an ingrained Australian. I don't know. I think it's just more Australian than almost other countries. This need to knock each other down a bit. It's just so. It's so bad. It's really shit. Yeah. It's like it's. I think it destroys so many people's confidence in so many areas. I was chatting to. I won't say who they were, but it was at a barbecue, and this dad was talking about his daughter, and he said, "My daughter knows that the worst thing that could happen is if she got a big head. So I always got to make sure that doesn't happen." And I was thinking, that's the worst thing you can think of, that she has self-confidence. And like,
that's such a common thing.
I know.
It's like, oh, nah, she's good for me. She keeps me down. It's like, okay.
Like, why do we celebrate this? Like, this is...
You do your best work when you're high, like 10, when you're sitting at 10. Like if I couldn't count the amount of press conferences you hear. Young Bailey Fritsch has kicked 8 goals. He must be happy around the club. The reporters send you up to fail. You go, we got to bring him down a little bit down the club.
Yeah.
Why are we bringing him down? He's kicked 8.
You often, and I reckon a lot of it actually, and this is a general comment, and definitely doesn't apply to all commentators or anything. But I feel like there was a change in the commentary style of football at one point where it became about having a go at each other. And making like negative comments at like between the commentary team, but then also to the players to a certain degree. It's like I said, it's not everyone, but I feel like there was a change in the culture of how how footy is kind of called and talked about, which made it more. It sort of expanded the locker room outside the literal locker room, And I just wonder whether that has had a greater impact on how...
Reinforced
potentially reinforced it.
There's something you said to me years ago, Hugh, about, and I think it was a piece of research that, God, you might be able to tell me some more information about this, but it was about the quality of a friend. There's the old sort of saying that like your friends will be there for you when times are tough, when things are hard. But I think it was a piece of research that said the real friends are there for you when things are going well, and they're there to get around you and they're not trying to take you down or getting jealous. The real ones are the ones who bring you up. Anyone can jump in when times are tough.
It's not a common saying though, is it?
I know, but I think when I think about it, it's so accurate.
It's called active, constructive style of friendship. Like when something good happens to someone, the way you respond is, it's just really like, you must feel, that must feel amazing. Tell me what it was like when you got the phone call to say that you're going to captain the club.
Yeah.
I had a feeling this was going to happen for a long while, but talk me through it, how you're feeling, that real active excitement, other than then there could be the passive deconstructive, which is, geez, you'll get a big head, but not pump him up too much, that kind of thing. I think it's what men are more comfortable doing. But the relationships are really special. They're the people who will go, just like what I said before. Like, tell me what it felt like when you got the phone call to find out you're captaining the proud club, the Melbourne Footy Club. That's a real good sign of a very good friendship.
And you do that. You've done that naturally to me my whole life, which has just been the most amazing older brother to have. But I think it's also meant that I was never good enough to play professional football, but I played football at school and stuff. And I'd always struggled in that world. Like I could never quite I had such a nurturing, uplifting experience with you that I just couldn't, those comments, I could never brush them off.
Yep.
And I know that's why I think it's just so powerful what you're doing for
football clubs can be a horrible place sometimes. And not to mention once you get to AFL, the scrutiny that you have from everyone else, and then you don't need it from your teammates, you got all this scrutiny from like pre-season. His coaches are on your back all day, every day. You have to come in and perform Monday to Saturday. At least during the year, you only have to perform on Saturdays and main training days, so 2 days a week.
Yeah.
Pre-season, you have to perform 6 days a week. If you're slightly overweight, you're literally the pin-up boy on the poster. Like,
really?
We got to get this guy down. His skin folds down. If you
like being pointed out individually,
maybe a little bit graphic. Maybe like everyone knows that guy's the guy that's got the high skin folds.
Yeah.
And then what you don't need is your mate telling you that you got high skin folds as well, because
you're vastly aware already.
Yeah, and that's only going to make things worse. So it's a delicate. Very, very, very.
But it sounds like on the flip side, what you have helped to be a part of turning this club into is a really beautiful place to be, and hence the performance is. You guys are, gosh, it's as someone who barracks at a club, it's frightening watching you guys play at the moment. Like,
and it certainly affected me early days when I first heard this feedback, until I realised that, like you said before, leadership is one thing to show, hey, I've gone from here to here with this feedback. But at the first, I'm like, oh no, like I'm down the dumps with this feedback. Like, but yeah, to say that's where we are as a football club because of that, what Aaron Vandenberg said in that meeting. Like I said, you could have different point of views from a lot of different players on this exact topic. It's just how it affected me. But there was a lot of things that had to go into place. We also, I hate being the stereotypical football story, but we had 10 guys that played 100 games together. Everyone was getting to the age of 25 and we timed our run to perfection. But that stuff certainly helped.
Do you think, just this is maybe a in the weeds question, but I can imagine like within clubs, within players, there's a lot of competitiveness between teammates, like as far as like who's going to like getting higher possessions and being a better player. Does the connection of when you've got better connections and you trust each other and you're not worried about, essentially, it's a trust thing. When you trust that everyone's got your back, does that lessen that internal competition? And maybe because people talk a lot about with Melbourne how people play players play their roles really well, and it's like all about role playing. And if everyone plays their role, the team wins. Is it easier to sustain that kind of role-playing, non-competitive game when you trust each other more? Does that contribute to it, do you think?
I mean, you've asked one of the hardest questions in football.
Ah.
You should,
I don't hold back. I don't hold back, mate.
Footy Classified could be calling.
Shelton Zarro.
Only ever gets Demons on.
I listened to the podcast that was on you early on, episode 3 or 4 or 5, one of the real early ones.
Yep.
And you spoke about your stuff with Hamish.
Yeah.
And
who you're mates with as well.
Yeah, so having this best man at each other's wedding, like great mates, but maybe not technically being extremely proud of some of the achievements.
Yep.
That is all over football clubs.
Yeah.
We're asked to be best mates with this guy just because we got drafted to the same club. And then you're trying to go for the ultimate cause. But if one guy's going better in the position that you want to be playing in and sometimes not, but that guy's your best friend, you got to be a big man to be able to get through that. So there's conversations like that happen all day, every day. And it's a crazy place, football clubs. I've been banging on about it for a while, but there'll be so many examples, I think, that we haven't even discovered within our walls of people being genuinely best friends, but also like not necessarily happy for them if they play a good game.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Isn't it?
You would have seen that, Hugh. I mean, that would be when you've gone to footy clubs and worked with players.
Yes.
Do you get an insight without naming people, obviously? But
yeah, I do. But I feel like it's a very, very delicate topic to go to because no one wants to admit that, say someone wants to play on the wing and then their really good mate has a really good game in the wing. They're like, nah, rap for him. He works so hard. Like they're not going to say, that's what I want and I'm jealous. Like I don't, I'm sure it happens, but they're not conversations.
Like we're asking Nathan Jones is going to miss out on a grand final.
Yep.
To go teach Tom Sparrow what Nathan Jones has learnt throughout his career, even though Tom Sparrow's taken your spot in the grand final.
Oh, I didn't know that. Was that really
that's what football clubs are. If you're an older player, you're expected to teach the younger player everything you know about the game and craft them to be a better player. I've got a young ruck now, Luke Jackson, who is already a better player than me. It's phenomenal.
Well, I don't know about that, but he's very, very good.
and I'm trying to teach him everything I can, knowing full well that he will then take my spot. And sure, it happens in most industries as well.
Not explicitly like that.
No.
And it's public as well. So people watch it happening. I mean, the Nathan Jones situation, for those of you who don't follow football, club legend, 300 games. He's been through the toughest of times with the Demons. And it was almost like the biggest fairy tale was for him to play in the grand final, but he wasn't picked. I spent so much time during the grand final thinking about him. Like I just couldn't help it. And I know, and I do know him, which is like adds a bit to that. But I was like, this is, I mean, every interview he does, of course he's so happy, but he must be heartbroken. Must be absolutely heartbroken.
He would have had to bite his tongue for the first 4 or 5 weeks. He's a great friend of mine as well, but it shows the caliber of a man to be able to teach someone your tricks and be fully supportive of them, and they're taking your spot after you played 300 games with one of the most unsuccessful teams of all time, Melbourne from 2006 to 2018.
Yeah, and to get no praise for it at all, really publicly. Like no one, I didn't know. I mean, I guess it's just an inherent part of your journey as a player as you get older. But I don't think most people wouldn't know that. Most people wouldn't be like, oh, Sparrow's good because Jonesy taught him everything. Like no one's thinking that.
Yeah.
But they should be.
What's it like after the grand final win when...
Oh God, okay. Geez, it's electric. It's,
Can I tell you what I got from him? And it comes every 3 weeks. Yep. I get a text from Ryan. Every 3, you'd say, the videos.
I'll try and up it.
The videos are about every 3. Tend to be the big games. So prelim, finals time was every week.
Yeah.
There was one of him topless on a tractor doing circles in his paddock singing the Melbourne theme song.
Yeah, it was a happy day.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That might have been prelim, I reckon.
Well, yeah. I mean, was that 5 goals? Was that, did you kick 5? That was that game?
Yep. Maybe the greatest game ever played by anyone.
Oh,
that was a fun game.
So my question is, What is that? What is it like when to win a grand final and then all the players who weren't playing run on? It's a big celebration and hugging and yes, they're really happy, but they must be just thinking, "Fuck, I just wish this was me. I wish I was in that person's shoes." Is that a strange thing to kind of navigate your way through? It like, yeah, thanks. Oh, it would have been great if you were part of it though. You would have been awesome. Also, like, how do you deal with that?
We have 23 that played. We had got an extra one this year with the sub. 46 on a list. Like, it's crazy compared to, there's more missing out almost.
Yeah.
And a few of them are about to get told in 2 days they're no longer at the club. Like, and Nathan Jones is one of them who's already told. I think he told us, actually. Nathan had it in his own hands. But like, it was the most magical moment I've had in a football field. Both prelim and grand final, the players ran out on the ground.
Yeah.
And to see the joy in their face, they forgot where they sat for that little bit.
Nice. Okay.
And we forgot that they didn't play for that little bit. So there was this bliss 10 minutes. Definitely the prelim, because and the prelim, they've all realised no one got injured. And they're probably thinking, oh no, there goes, we're in a grand final.
God,
this is reality. I'm actually missing out on the granny.
So that's another strange thing. You don't want your mates to get hurt, but if they do, you could be a premiership
You're a
player.
chance to play. So they've just realised that, but they've come out on the ground, they're hugging us. There's pure joy. You can tell when someone's faking their joy. There's pure joy. Jonesy's crying, Melky's crying, and grand final similar. Then it gets, you have some conversations with how much it hurts, some of them a little bit later on. And it's a delicate situation, but they drive the plan for next year. I don't want to make it a complete footy podcast, but Jaden Hunt missed out and probably the unluckiest, played the first 20 games and got injured. Oh. And then we brought in this kid, Jack Bowyer, who has not lost yet. He's 15 from 15.
That's now, is that a record?
Record in a row.
Is it a record in a row?
Yeah, but someone's done 18 since debut, but they got dropped a couple of times.
Ah, gotcha.
So that's the next one if you want it.
I mean, like I know you keep saying you don't want to talk about footy too much, but I feel like so much of the stuff is not, of course you're talking about footy, but it is so, you can apply it to any industry or situation where it requires working as a team of some sort. I feel like that, and even as in friendship groups, like you were saying about with me and Hames, it's that ability to be truly happy for a friend or a teammate or a colleague it can be really hard to get to. You know, if you can't get there, it feels horrible. And it feels horrible if you're not being truly happy for someone who deserves to be happy for you. They deserve your happiness. But I just feel like having gone through that, it just feels incredible if you can get there. If you can get to a place where you truly, I bet those players when they're running on, that pure joy that you were all sharing, didn't matter who was playing or who wasn't playing, everyone had a role at some point. Everyone played a part, even in the smallest way, even if it's not recognised or acknowledged, everyone played a part in the success that this person or these people are having. So if you can get there and celebrate someone and be happy for someone, it feels incredible. It's just such a shame that we can often not get there. I'm glad you brought that up because I came in hoping that a question was going to be asked where I could talk about my brother. There wasn't, but I just wanted, how you said, people get to a point in their life where they can be completely happy for someone. My brother played football as a kid as well. We both played football the whole way up. I got the dream, he didn't. He is the happiest person for me I've ever seen.
Really?
And that's such a bigger man that I think I would have been.
Wow.
I feel like...
Is he younger or older?
Older. And calls me every single game, pre and post, to a point where I said, Adam, I'm going to screen your pre-calls. I need to focus on the game at some point.
Too supportive.
I get parents. Parents are adoring. They love everything about you. When I have a bad game, they go, it's because they didn't kick to you. They're beautiful. Right. But my brother, who has every right to be a little bit jealous of the situation I've found myself in, it brings me back to earth, and it makes me realise as I've gone through football, I've realised why I play. And you think why you play is to get the best out of yourself, to see if you can reach this goal, to win a flag. You think that the whole way, but what it really is the phone call I have with my brother and my dad straight after every game, and the joy that is in their phone call. Wow. It's an amazing feeling to know that I can bring joy to others. And for example, I brought up Ryan's video before. That football team made Ryan do that video. That is so much joy to me. That's why I play football. To see the smile it brings on your face. You haven't stopped smiling yet. So and then it leads to another story about why I want to do it again, is because the 5 or 6 people I hold nearest and dearest to me weren't there when I had the cup in Perth,
wasn't it? It was in Perth.
And I felt it straight away. I said,
count that part.
Your dad, obviously. So obviously I'm like, Jess, my wife, my mum, my dad, and my brother, like the 4 people that literally I call after every game and share every joy I've had with football. They're probably like they're happy for me, but they're miserable sitting at home. Like, how am I supposed to enjoy this? So it is a little bit of why I want to do it again, because I want them to feel this amazing week that we had in Perth.
That's awesome.
But I'm glad it's like I picked out 6 cards today. I'm talking about everything, but I'm glad I was able to talk about my brother, because that's a bigger man than what I think I'd be. And he's obviously found that part of his life where he can be completely happy for someone.
That's incredible.
It is really impressive. Every time there's when clubs will they'll put up a picture of like a debutante playing their first game and their family's there. For some reason, I'm always drawn to, if there's a brother in the photo, I'm always trying to read their body language in their face. Like, are they going, fucking hell, this could so easily be me. This is just like...
I was that much better on my left than he was. I don't know how he's done it.
Well, I always looked at that and think it must be depending on the dynamics of the relationship. But that's so good that... Have you experienced anything in your life? Sorry, I'm now like going well beyond the cards, but
we can do a 2-episoder.
Stop it. Right, Dad, you can come in.
So after the 3rd goal on the prelim,
Okay, so you grab it out of the ruck, snap over your shoulder. That's another goal.
Have you had experience in your life where you feel like your success has damaged any relationships that you've had? Like, have you ever felt like you almost sort of downplay your success around certain people because you're worried that they don't like that element of your life, how successful you are?
Yes. Yeah, definitely people in my position at the football club, so other ruckmen.
Right, okay.
Or really good friends that have missed out on stuff that I've done. I certainly downplay or not even talk about it. Which is hard, because I feel like I'd love to get to that position where both of us are comfortable to talk about it. Competitive areas early on in my career where I'm just trying to get a game, we had 4 rucks at one stage, all going for the one spot, and we're all at the same level. Like, how are we supposed to be sharing success with the other 3 when that happens? So that's certainly times where I felt like I've been ashamed of my success or tried to hide it.
Yeah.
But certainly,
because you know that you're in that ruck situation, you're aware that potentially your success means that other people are missing out. Like, that's the direct result.
And good friends.
Yeah.
So that's like, we talked about that before with the delicate situation of 23 guys missing out. It is one of the hardest things in football to be able to deal with, and as a captain, even harder.
What is the hardest thing about being the captain of Melbourne Football Club?
It's the same thing that was the hardest thing about being a first-year player, making sure I stick to me. Because I get so much, like everything that's gone through in 13 years, it's the same advice. Just stick to Max Gawn, because Max Gawn will be the best version of Max Gawn, the captain. Not this guy that... And everyone's got their, like, not everyone, but most people have this view of what an AFL captain is. And it's this guy who runs through brick walls, blood everywhere. Basically Joel Selwood. Like, everyone wants Joel Selwood because he's a miraculous captain. And I constantly get told about how I give feedback, don't put a joke in. Like, I've been told that for years. And I'm not sure if I've heard this on your podcast. I certainly heard it a while ago. There's this famous, we were talking about dinner the other night, there's this famous line that you hear at every primary school on your values, and it's treat others the way you want to be treated. Nah, treat others the way they want to be treated. We've been told a lie this whole time.
Yeah.
I think Jesus is to blame for that, isn't it?
Yeah. Bloody Jesus.
treat others the way I want Max Gawn to be treated. No, I'll treat Ryan the way Ryan wants to be treated. You have to learn the way Ryan wants to be treated. But if I treat him the way I want to be treated, that's not what he wants.
That's good delivery.
Probably a bad example.
Give it a go. See how it fits.
Oh, that's real. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
So there's
and it's harder because it requires really listening and paying attention to someone else and learning them, understanding them.
So and that's the hardest part. I constantly
to keep coming back to I've got to be myself.
I've got to be myself, because there's doubts with there's a doubt every time I speak in front of the group, if this is the right message, is it the right message in this tone? Is it? No, it's just if I think it's the right message, if I thought of it, it's the right message for Max Gawn, the captain.
So is that why now, even to this day, every time you drive to training, you smoke a dart?
Well, the car's actually
On the Monash.
You've led me into another point. I live an hour and 15 from training and love it because the car's the most beautiful mindfulness part of my day. We're a point where after the Imperfects plays, I turn off the radio and just sit there and think about conversations, relationships, training. How am I going to walk in that door as the best husband and father now I can be? Can I call my brother, be a good brother? Can I call my parents, be a good son? Like that's a magical hour and 15. So that's something that I love. I don't have the data anymore. I wish I did.
What? Sorry, I feel like dude. We've been going for a while, but I feel like I've got so many questions. I'm so fascinated. One of the comments I would just make is just having chats with senior players around the competition. That's a very common thing I've found. Like I think about as an example, like Dyson Heppel or Travis Boak. It's very similar. The big focus is I got to be myself, and it's a hard thing to do in this industry, but I got to be myself.
Yeah.
So I love hearing that. That's a thing for you as well. And I want every young player listening to this to first of all take that in, but then also understand that, like, still as a premiership captain, it's still a hard thing to do.
Oh, I as a captain still go home and think about if I've said something from a captain point of view, like this isn't good enough, boys, and I hear one smart ass comment at the back, I'm thinking about it that whole night as well. So it's like I haven't parked my emotions while I'm captain. I haven't just gone to this brick wall that can fight through anything, and vice versa. Just because I'm captain doesn't mean the person I'm giving the advice to is going to take it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, like even just hearing you say that, just being true to Max Gawn, like being Max. I mean, that's a football thing, I guess, but it's also it's an everyone thing. Like I think about that. I've thought about that a lot for myself as a performer and the stuff that I make. I've over the years I've caught myself number of times trying to kind of emulate someone else that I think is funny or someone else who I want to be. You know, I'll see someone do a sketch on the internet or something, and be like, oh, yeah, that's good. Maybe I should try and do something like that. And then I find myself trying to do something which doesn't really come naturally, but because I admire it, and I thought, well, maybe I can like try and get a bit of that. But it just never works. It always feels a bit icky or a bit wrong. It's the times where I just do something which truly that I know is just me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if anyone's going to really like this because this is pretty strange. But they're more often than not, they're the ones that people respond to the most.
And I also, I've gone back to work out how I realised who Max Gawn is and how I realised that's the best way to go is from a mentor, which makes you realise you can be that mentor. You can be that person that lets someone realise to get on the same path. Like Jim Steins was that person for me, as well as family. My family have been great to me to be able to keep me straight. Like that's Max Gawn, you be Max Gawn. Otherwise, I could potentially be this completely other person. I could be Maxine Gawn. I mean, I could have changed my last name. Who knows? Which would have been horrible with the puns.
Terrible with the puns. Are you saying you'd like to be my mentor? Is that what we're getting?
Yeah. Well, you just said you found yourself before anyway, so there's no need.
Happy to take you on if you wanted to mentor me in some way. It's all right, we can talk about it.
You played footy, didn't you?
Yeah. God, here we go. It's not supposed to be about me, but yeah, played a bit on the forward flank, forward pocket, goal sneak.
Yep, sounds like it.
I'm so grateful for your time today. Can I finish with a question? We could do this for hours, but I just fatherhood. You mentioned family before. You're now a dad. In years to come, now what's your child's name?
George.
When George grows up, how would you like George to describe you as a person, as a dad?
Oh, good question.
Not on the cards, but it's just something I've been thinking about a lot recently. As in not how you're George is going to, how will George, just in general, like.
George is well and truly on the cards. He's definitely there. No, look, I think about it similar, and it's a similar question to, I think, so when people say, what legacy do you want to leave behind as Max Gawn, the captain as well? I'd love to know that like what I said before, I help someone enjoy their life more, one way or another. I mean, yes, I want to be able to support him. I want to make sure he learns the Gawn values that there's family values that get passed down that I don't even know. Like, I did not know that work ethic was something that I picked up from my mum and dad until I hit like 27. I'm like, geez, my mum and dad worked. That's what gets passed down. So I think that gets genetically passed. He'll just copy stuff that I do. Hopefully not the dart at this point. But I've had a positive way on him growing up. Him and you work with a lot of teens. The magic years of being able to get from 13 to 25 and still be the same person you were at 13, just a slightly grown up version. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's lovely. Max, thank you. Well, in fact, I feel like I should let Ryan do the thank you.
No. Okay. Max, you're a legend. You're the best man in the world.
What a summary.
Honestly, thank you so much, mate. This is just huge for you to come on here, and I know like it's definitely not something you needed to do, but I just feel like the stuff you spoke about is just so helpful. It's helpful for me to hear it, but I reckon people listening will get so much out of it. And God, if more guys in your position can talk like that, it's just awesome. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. Long time listener, first time caller. I've listened to my fair share.
Oh,
it's actually when you had Watsy on was my first time. I sort of gave it a chance and then went back and listened to yours. And
just the two.
Just to know. And my wife is a passionate listener. She said, "Are you sure you're ready for this? You do know what the Vulnerabilitea House is?" Like I said, "Yeah, we have cups of tea and we talk prelim."
On the prelim. Max, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
If this episode has been triggering for you, we strongly recommend Lifeline on 131114. The Imperfects is hosted and co-produced by Hugh Van Kylenberg, Brian Shelton and Josh Van Kylenberg. This episode was produced by Bridget Northeast, edited by Andy Hall, filmed by Andy Poole and social mediaed by George Martin. A special thanks to Dr. M for her expertise and guidance. And thanks to Nick from White Owl Sound for our beautiful Vulnerability intro. We'd also like to thank the Resilience Project for their ongoing support. Our acknowledgement of country was delivered today by Marley Silver, and you can find Marley's podcast, Chicks and Balls, wherever you get your podcasts.